KTV's Nebraska County Sheriff is calling it a career after more than 30 years on the job. KTV's Connor Trett spoke with Sheriff Mike Unger about his retirement and a look back at his many years of service.
I don't get elected because I'm necessarily the most liked. I get elected because they knew I'd do the job, and I've taken a lot of pride in that.
I'm out in northeast Nebraska, right around the Stanton County line, where since 1993, county law enforcement has been under the direction of County Sheriff Mike Unger. This week, Unger released a statement saying that this will be his final term as the county sheriff after more than 3 decades of service. Around the Stanton County Sheriff's Office, you can see signs of just how long Sheriff Mike Unger has been in law enforcement. Like how he still uses a typewriter to fill out parts of his reports.
You know, I'm from the old era, and when I started here and before that, we used a typewriter to actually typewrite our reports. But most of our reports, including mine, are done on a computer now. But it's just part of the job that many people would not understand, that we actually had to handwrite or type our reports back in the day.
Before becoming the sheriff of Stanton County, the Norfolk native served in the United States Army as a military policeman.
I was stationed over in West Germany during the Cold War. And during that time, we had a lot of activity with the Baader-Meinhof gang, Red Army faction terrorist groups that were actually attacking military installations.
It was during this time that Unger says he caught the bug for civilian law enforcement. Once his service in the Army was over, he came back home to northeast Nebraska.
And I began my civilian career at the Norfolk Police Division. Was there for several years and then just followed a different path in other smaller agencies until I ended up here.
In 1987, Unger became a deputy sheriff in Stanton County, and after 2 years, he was promoted to chief deputy sheriff. In 1993, he was appointed the new county sheriff to replace the retiring Sheriff Norman Lehman. But if you ask Unger, when he was first starting out, he didn't see himself in this position.
I worked for a sheriff that was quite a bit older, and one day he just said, "When you're sheriff," and it kind of lit a light that, was this even a possibility? And with his help, yeah, I was able to get this job. And I found that it was definitely a job I enjoyed. I think I'm, without sounding braggart, I think I'm pretty good at it. Obviously, the citizens of Stanton County have felt that way, or I wouldn't have this job.
Now, after more than 3 decades as the county sheriff and countless service calls as a part of the Stanton County Sheriff's Office, Stanton Rescue, and Pilger Fire and Rescue, and multiple awards and accolades later, Unger's calling it a career at the end of this term.
But here in Stanton County, I believe in enforcement of the law. Treat everybody equal, no matter who you are, and I think we've done a very good job of that, and I hope it continues into the future with the next sheriff.
In Stanton County, Nebraska, Connor Trett, KTIV News 4.
Sheriff Unger says as for retirement, he plans to spend more time with his family and travel. His term, by the way, is up at the end of 2026.